Hello, my name is Vincent Gonzalez, and this is my final video recording for Humanities 350. It is going to be about the interviewees that we had present for us, and the eyewitnesses that we've had. And what I'm going to do in mine on is one of the eyewitnesses, Gunter Baum, Mr. Hans Titel, and the organizer for the long table, the long tafel, Isabella Mamontis, I think I'm saying it right. Okay. And the first and most interesting presenter that I think we've had was Gunter Baum, who was one of the eyewitnesses, and he was born in 1931. He was age of 14 when World War II ended, so he had a lot of memories from World War II, post World War II. He saw the Berlin Wall go up and down, so he's seen a lot in his age. And what I found most interesting was his relationships in World War II with Soviet soldiers, and hearing firsthand what that experience was like, because I think as time goes on, we're going to have less and less chance to talk to anyone that experienced anything during World War II. So he talked about how the Soviets were feared by the Germans, and how they searched for weapons in people's houses and yards, using metal spikes and putting them into the ground, looking for weapon caches. And that they looked through his house as well, but they found no weapons. But they only found pictures of Hitler and a copy of Mein Kampf, and so they took those away from him. And he said another instance where a Soviet soldier threatened his life in a grocery store for watches, because that's how they got their trophies. They had watches up and down their arms from the German people. And in that occurrence, a lady in the store had a ring that she gave to the Soviet soldier instead of a watch, and the soldier was happy with that and left them alone. And he also said in July 45 that that's when they saw the first American troops, and more than that is when they saw the first sight of black people and black troops with the American troops. And I think it says a lot that they haven't seen any black people at that time, because it's so integrated now, and it's not a big surprise now. But in Germany in that time, I think the black people in Germany were even sent away to concentration camps because they were black and seen as undesirable. He remembers seeing the U.S. soldiers in comparison to the Soviet soldiers, and how much cleaner they were, and how nice their uniforms were, how relaxed they were. And he says that he remembers the American troops sitting on their jeeps chewing gum, very lackadaisically, while the Soviets were obviously poor, in another sense of the word poor, and have been through so much battle that it's apparent in how they look versus the American troops, who were only in the war for about a year before it ended. And he said that he was originally in East Berlin, and then kicked out to West Berlin. He was exiled to there instead of put in prison, because he wanted school elections, but they weren't allowed in the Soviet zone, and because of his want of school elections, democratically elected instead of appointed in the Soviet zone, that he was kicked out. And I don't think we're going to have any time to talk about the other two. I wish there were, so I guess it's just going to be about Gunter Baum. But what's also interesting is that he said that the Soviets were disappointed that from the German people that they didn't accept communism, and he said that the Soviets expected to be like heroes when they went to Germany, because they freed the Germans from Hitler and brought with them a new order, which is communism, and to go through all they went through, all the battle they went through, and all the loss they went through, to be created by Germans who they're supposed to be saving, and who were ungrateful and didn't like what they were bringing. It's almost as if they preferred fascism and Hitler. And I think that's a very different view from what you would usually get, because on what we learned that Hitler's bad and that communism's bad. But when you get in a situation like this, where you're replacing fascism with communism, you don't think that communism's better than fascism. We wouldn't think that, but the Soviets did, and that'd be like the Americans coming into Berlin and bringing democracy with them, and Germans not wanting democracy. And we went through D-Day and whatever losses we had, not compared to the Soviets who had much more than we did. And then being sent away or not liked. It's kind of like in Vietnam, where the troops didn't feel like they were welcomed here. Like the Vietnamese didn't want them there. So I thought that was a really interesting point that he made.